Hi, Nigel here with the Drive Wire, and this is the 2022 Golf R. All new. New exterior, new interior. It's got more refinement, it's got more precision, and best of all, it's got more power. But the important question is it still the hottest of hot hatches? So the Golf R still looks very much like a Golf. In fact, blink and you might miss it because it looks very much like a GTI. One of the giveaways obviously is this R badge right here. But other than that, most of the changes are quite subtle. So these 19-inch rims are unique to the R, and they've got obviously summer tires. These are Bridgestone Potenzas. They're 235/35s all round. And at the back, you get this extended rear wing. Now, it's not obnoxious like on a Civic Type R, but it's certainly a fairly subtle addition to the standard size rear wing on the regular GTI. You also get this slightly redesigned diffuser, the R badge underneath the VW badge, and these quite tasty looking quad tailpipes at the rear. Let's take a look and see if this R sounds pretty good. I'll bet though it's got a soft limiter. All right, so I was completely wrong there. It actually doesn't have a soft limiter. It revved up to about 6,000 RPM. Didn't sound that great, certainly from the inside, but when you are driving it with the windows up, a lot of the sound is piped through the speakers, of course. That's what happens these days, and it actually sounds pretty good. So all US cars come with the performance package, the R performance package, regardless. In Europe, you can choose that package as an addition. What that gives you is a 15-stage damper system. It gives you a slightly reprogrammed transmission and a better throttle response. So if you're familiar with the GTI, you're pretty much familiar with this. There's not a whole lot of difference. The LED lights are pretty much the same. The whole face is the same. It's got vents on either side to provide cooling for the engine. And then the only difference really is this little R badge. It's a very subtle thing. I mean, most of the time, if you see one of these in your rearview mirror, you're probably not going to notice unless you notice this tiny little R right here. So VW has thoroughly revised the all-wheel drive system. It no longer has a center coupling. Instead, it has two electronically controlled clutch packs, one on each axle. And what they do is they shuffle torque back and forth, left, right, left, and aid in rotation, which makes this thing basically take the turns like a beast. What it hasn't done, though, is managed to get more power to the rear, so it can still only pass 50% of its power to the rear wheels, which is kind of odd because it has a drift mode. If I remember rightly, the Ford Focus RS had a drift mode, but it was able to send 70% of the power to the rear wheels. Go figure. Under the hood is VW's familiar 2.0 turbo engine. It's a very, very good engine, 4-cylinder, of course. It now has 315 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque driven through an excellent 7-speed DSG transmission. Now, stateside, you can get a 6-speed manual, which is actually the standard transmission. The DSG is an option. I really do like a stick shift, but I think I'd go for the DSG simply because it's a little faster. So practicality is key with a hatch, be it hot or cold. This one has plenty of space in the back. The seats obviously fold down. There's some space under here to store stuff because there is no real spare wheel, so you can put things in there. A couple of cubbies, and your jack is on the right-hand side. And also a little poke through for longer items. So that practicality carries over to the rear. It's not bad. There's plenty of headrooms. You got a couple of fancy lights here, air vents, and then this one gets heated seats as standard as well. Pretty good, not too bad. So in the front, you get these specific R Little R right there. Recaro style seats. They got good bolstering. They're leather covered. As I mentioned, you get memory seats, so you can lock the seat in position for the driver. Passenger gets somewhat gypped. There's manual control fore and aft. But all in all, it's a pretty nice place to be. Well made for the most part. A couple of bits of scratchy plastic here and there. All right, so we're not going to dwell on the interior. I did an entire review of the GTI and this slightly awkward and annoying interior, and the fact that there are almost no physical buttons and the slidey volume, etc. So what I'm going to concentrate on today is just one simple thing. So there's two ways to find the drive modes. One is to hit the mode button right here, and then it opens up Comfort, Sport, Race, and Custom. If you hit the R on the wheel, you get some extra ones. So you get Comfort, Sport, Race. Race opens up drift mode, special, and then you've got custom. So custom, you can go into here and you can change everything to sport. You can just do all these different things. You can change, engine sound. It can be race or pure, however you want it. But there is one setting I would suggest you just use all the time, and it's this one right here. So when you hit special, you see you've got a map of the Nürburgring, and then when you change to S, you have a choice of S or S plus instead of a D and an S. So here's the cool thing about the Nürburgring mode, and it's sort of a marketing ploy, because actually it should be called B-road mode, because what it does is it makes the throttle absolutely hypersensitive. It weightens up the steering. It has the same damper settings as in race mode, but it then softens them. And it's unbelievably good, because obviously if you're on a racetrack which is super smooth, you really don't want that kind of hard suspension on a regular road, because we know that regular roads are pretty rubbish, particularly here in California. So it softens it up, keeps the tires in contact with the road. There's none of that bounce. It is by far the best thing that VW has done with this car. It is absolutely unbelievable. So what we really care about is, how does this thing drive? So let's see how much of an improvement or not this is over the old Golf R. And let's go. I gotta be a little bit careful because I went slightly off-road here to get to this spot. It's amazing. There's a big difference between this Nürburgring setting, it's a lot to say, and race. Race is just hard and you feel the car just bouncing up and down. This mode is superb. And the shifts are really aggressive. It's S+, it shows you on the dash which gear you're in. The downshifts are immediate, milliseconds. It holds onto the gears for you so that you're in the right rev range. You've got the full amount of torque available. Steering is really good. My only complaint is that I wish it had Michelin Pilot Sports on it, or 4S's, because at the very limit, these Bridgestones, I feel like they just start to squeal a little bit. They just don't quite have the grip. But this is quite a sort of bouncy. There's a couple of smaller potholes. It's not the smoothest road. It's pretty typical of all the roads around here. It's a great road to be on. It's a fun road to drive this car. But that Nürburgring mode has just basically taken all the uneasiness out of this car. superb. Man, just one button, so no need to fiddle around in race trying to change different settings. Just hit Nürburgring, hit the shifter to S+, and off you go. Man, the feel on the throttle is just amazing. It's like a hair trigger. It's programmed perfectly. And you'll notice as well that the exhaust sounds slightly different when you press that button too. It's a little bit more aggressive. You hear a few more pops and bangs from the back. So much torque in this engine. But it likes to rev too. Gave a little extra bit of noise. It burped a little bit out the back there as I put my foot down. This thing just keeps pulling. I kind of thought at first that they'd taken the edge off this car, but nope. This is just, it's very refined, but fantastic in this mode. I'm going to call it B-Road mode from now on, because Nürburgring is too damn hard to say. Even though it only shoves 50% of the power to the back, it doesn't feel like it wants to understeer, so it's not a problem. And these brakes are really good. They're two-piece calipers, but they're really good. Two-piece, two pistons. Shimmy there where the traction control kicked in. Didn't want to give me full power there. I've noticed it's done that before, which is a safety feature, I can imagine. This thing is just ridiculous in the turns. I mean, just nuts. Pedal position is perfect too. Sometimes it's like the brake pedal is a little bit too high. You got to lift your foot up, just slide your foot across between the two. You know, it's hard to find this much fun in a practical car for this price. And the only downside is it just looks like a Golf. I mean, that's the problem. It's got the slightly larger rear wing, but it you know, people look at it and they're like, is that a GTI? And that's not what you want, really. You want it to say, hey, is that an R? But it's very subtle. Absolutely scythes through these corners. Massively quick on these little two-lane roads. Massively quick. So much fun. It completely makes up for the annoying interior. And yeah, I think you'd get used to it eventually. I said that about the Golf GTI. This is an interior that, you know, it's in the ID4. It's going to be across the board. VW have obviously invested a lot of money in this, and so just kind of suck it up and live with it. Now, because it clings onto the gears so much in this Nürburgring mode, it does use a little bit of gas. But every time I take it out and I drive it like this, I can't seem to get worse than 19 miles to the gallon, which, you know, considering is actually damn good. Now, this will get 33 highway, which is equally impressive. Just changes down and goes. Jeez. just give it a little bit of gas and then let off, and it makes some wonderful noises out the back. Of course, I don't know if you can hear that outside or not, but we shall see. All right, this is my turnaround point. So now I've discovered Nürburgring mode. I think I would find the extra money and buy one of these over a GTI. So much fun. Ridiculous how good this thing is. Because even if you chip a GTI, it's still front wheel drive. And I even know that the 2022 GTI is phenomenally good. It is not as good as this in the turns. This is ridiculous, this car. So impressed. Yep, I would find the money. So, what do we think? Well, I think VW has taken some steps forward, some steps back. We know that we don't like the interior controls in any way. As a driver's car, this thing is fantastic in every way. It's more refined, it's faster, obviously got more power. I haven't tried the stick shift yet, but I did drive a stick shift R a couple of years ago, and it was a great car. So I'm no doubt that the stick shift in this is going to be just as good. I do like the DSG though. I know, sacrilege. The only doubt that I have with this car is it too refined? Is it just, has VW made this car almost too good? It's lost its raw edge that it used to have. Think Ford Focus RS, for example, or a Civic Type R. A little meaner, a little rawer than this. Having said that though, damn, for $45,000, this is great. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have one of these. That'd be great to hear from you. Out.